We understand the arm here has given him a taste, but we think it's now time to finish the job.
No, don't do that. Not to that sort of business. You know what I'm saying?
It's time to get into that business, if you know what I'm saying. The muscle, young Armstrong. If what happened to that child happened to your young fellow outside, would you leave the matter as it is?
This is my business, all sort of, Jeremy.
Your father, God rest him, would never have let it end there. He'd be ashamed to see what you're doing to the Dever's name. He'd be embarrassed of you.
That's a clip from Calm with Horses. I'm delighted to say we've been joined by Cosmo Jarvis and Barry Keoghan, a couple of the main stars from this movie. Hello, Cosmo, first of all. How are you, sir?
Hello, I'm not too bad. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're all right. Where do we speak to you? Where are you?
I'm in London.
Right, so you've been in lockdown in London. That's the place where you're doing all your promotion from. This is a strange thing, isn't it, Cosmo?
Incredibly strange.
Okay, and Cosmo plays Douglas Armstrong, Arms, as you heard him referred to there. And Barry Keoghan joins us. Where are you, Barry?
How are you? I'm in London as well. Yeah.
Whoa, you're in London.
Pretty strange times. Yeah.
Cool.
No, you can't meet up. That's not allowed.
We should meet up after the lockdown's finished.
Few points.
Okay, so let's try and tell this story. So Mark's in the New Forest. I'm in London. Cosmo's in London. Barry's in London. But between us, we'll put together the story of Calm with Horses. Barry, do you want to go first? Just tell us about your character, Dimpner, and how he fits in with the story here.
Yeah, so I play Dimpner Devers, and basically he is, he comes from this family who's pretty feared in this small rural town in the west of Ireland. So he's got a lot of, a lot to live up by. He tries to follow the footsteps of his father, and his uncles pressurize him, and and the relationship between him and Arm is he basically uses Arm just to collect the debts and do his dirty work.
Okay, so that's Dimpner's side of it. Cosmo, tell us your side of this story. Tell us about Douglas Armstrong.
Douglas is a guy who is sort of looked after by this family, the Devers, and he's sort of they are his family. Other family. They are his other family. He also has his own family, and he's a man who kind of does their enforcing. They're involved in various illegal activities, and he does whatever he's asked, and he does it, and he has to sort of eventually navigate his responsibility between his family and the family that is his other family.
Yeah. And tell us about the ex-girlfriend and your son that you've had together, because that's like it's one of the other kind of centres of this story.
Arm's ex-girlfriend Ursula between the two of them, they have a son called Jack, who has apparently has autism, a form of autism, and he requires special care. And although Arm's attitude towards it is sort of that he he doesn't necessarily see the severity of the condition, because it reminds him of elements of himself when he was that age, and as far as he's concerned, it's just a boy being a boy. And but their son is definitely autistic.
And the boy Jack is played, I think this is right, by Cillian Mahoney, who does an amazing job. You have some extraordinary scenes with him, Cosmo. Obviously there are tight rules and regulations when you're playing with an actor who was just a kid. He was 5 years old, I think, when you were filming this. Was that quite tough to do that, because they're very upsetting scenes?
Oh yeah, it was. It always is, because I guess it's a difficult age, but impressionable age, and you don't want to do anything that might imprint something that shouldn't be imprinted. So it's always a case of just lightening the atmosphere and all that to make it very known that everything is bogus and fun and silly, and it was. I mean, when Cillian was there, because he's great fun to work with.
Mark. Well, I think the film is one of my favorite films of the year. I absolutely love it, and one of the reasons I love it is because again, it's a film which tells its story in a really sensitive way. I mean, it's adapted from a story from Colin Barrett's Young Skins collection, and it's about this character who is torn between these two families, and at the center of it, there's a number of central relationships between Arm and his son, between Arm and his ex-girlfriend, but also this kind of really strange, insidious relationship between Dimpner and Arm, in
Yeah.
which Arm is essentially treated like a dog. And there is one scene
Mm.
which really stuck with me, in which Barry's character literally clicks and whistles to Arm, and Arm comes to him, like a pet. And then there's another scene later on in which he's trying to persuade Arm to do something that he absolutely does not want to do. And the way he does it is with this kind of insidious mix of saying, I love you, you're my brother, you're my family, whilst actually kind of using him like an attack dog. And I think that what the film does is it has all these central relationships, and it really, with great clarity and skill. I mean, it's a directorial debut for Nick Rowland, tells the story of these kind of fraught relationships. But I think it does so really, really beautifully. And at the center of it is that relationship between Barry's character and Cosmo's character, which is this absolutely, it's almost parasitical relationship, and yet it looks like a love relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a question, but we'll get Barry and Cosmo to respond to what Mark has just said. Barry, do you want to go first? What do you think about that?
Yeah, Mark, I think you hit it on the nail there. And thanks for the kind words, man. I've been looking at, I've read what you said about it, and the video clip that the review you gave it. So, really big thank you. But yeah, I totally agree. The whole clicking thing was, that was all improv, and because that's the dynamic I exactly felt. I felt that he was my dog. I felt that if I just hussed him, as someone, that he'd go get them. But at the same time, I think there is a little bit of, I wouldn't say loyalty, but he does have he has a spot for Arm for sure. And we see that towards the end, without giving it away. He doesn't want to see Arm get hurt, but I definitely, yeah, that is the dynamic that I see between two of them. Dimpner is Arm is the dog to Dimpner.
And excuse me. And Cosmo, do you think your comment to what Mark was saying there?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was that relationship between Dimpler and Arm was one of the sort of central points of excavation for me, because I couldn't for the life of me in the beginning, in the early stages of reading it, understand why how a relationship like that could form, whereby somebody was so I guess unaware, or at least unaware of the implications of just servitude, really. I mean, so I had to sort of arrive at it was the key for me to be able to start thinking along the right lines of how Arm might think, was how he interacted with Dimpner. And even though and the film does draw some sort of a conclusion on the impressionableness of people.
And the triumph of the way you play it, Cosmo, seems to be that when the film starts, it's quite clear it's a very nasty, violent duffing up scene that we see, and you're absolutely at the heart of that, and yet we're rooting for you. We know what you're capable of, but because we see you with your son, we're kind of on your side. It's a very tight path that you have to walk here.
Yes, but I mean that's part of. I mean the contextualization of the evil deeds of people is always a very sort of humbling thing from a human point of view.
Yeah. Can I ask something about the voice that you use? Because I had said this before, Cosmo. When I first saw you in the film, I confess I didn't recognize you as the same guy I'd seen in films like Lady Macbeth. And one of the reasons is that your accent sounded to my ear to be completely convincing. I wonder whether...
And to my ear.
Yeah, well, so Barry, from your point of view, was it as good as it sounded to me?
Yeah, as well. I seen Lady Macbeth and I absolutely loved it, but I didn't recognize
Nice,
Cosmo either.
nice.
Like, when I first walked in, I was like, "Who's this Irish kid, Irish chump?" But no, I mean, spot on.
Oh,
And anyone that has seen it, my girlfriend Shona, she was on set, and she couldn't believe it as well. She's very critical with the accents. She's critical to me with the accents. If I'm doing an Irish accent, she'll let me know that I'm not getting it right. But with Cosmo, I mean, we were just fascinated, and especially when you broke at the end. It was the only time I heard you broke. Only time anyone heard you broke, but it was after the rap. It was just crazy, and it really is it. It's commitment, and it's really really nice to
I mean,
see.
everybody did an amazing job. I mean, everybody. Thanks for saying. I don't know. I get awkward. Oh.
Do you find the accents easy, Cosmo?
No, no. I just find them necessary. I suppose. you know.
But am I right in saying that you stayed in accent throughout the shoot? That even when the cameras weren't turning, you were in that accent?
Yeah, because unfortunately, my upbringing, I didn't get a lot of exposure to a lot of Irish culture or pop culture in general, and the pieces of it that I did through media and movies were often less than absolutely realistic. So by being there and just by doing it for as long as possible, it reduces the chances of deviations. Once you're kind of in it, it means that the more familiar it becomes, the more of a second nature it becomes, which means that there's less of a chance of you veering. Of course, but veering still happens inevitably. But at least to me, it's probably rubbish. But at least to me, it just mathematically increases the chances of what's the word? Consistency.
Yeah.
Can I also I just very quickly ask Barry? Barry, can you tell us about your haircut? Because you have a very particular haircut in the film, and I read that it was your choice to have that haircut.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to do something like a question mark on the side of my head, or like just something out there. Because it's this punk rock kind of feel to Dimna and that whole little town that they live in. But the hair was sort of like Dimna has style. Like I like to think he has style, anyways, with his leather jackets and his chains. But I just thought that he would have done it himself at home, and thought he was the real deal with the blonde blonde hair.
Can you tell us something about Eternals, Barry? Are you allowed to tell us anything about that?
I can't say anything. No, it's gonna be an amazing film. I can tell you that. Chloe Zhao is one of the best. If you've seen The Rider, I mean, she's just brought that whole feel to it. She's one of the best, and yeah, it's going to be an amazing film.
And this is Marvel.
Yeah.
And who do you play?
I play Druig.
And what does he do?
I'm not gonna get
I'm just trying, Barry, just a little bit. Okay.
I know. You know what? Good on you,
Barry. I should
Just
point
one
out
teensy wincy welfare thing.
yeah, but Simon managed to get Cillian Murphy into trouble when Cillian Murphy wasn't allowed to say anything about the Batman movie, and Simon kept saying, are you in it? Are you in it? Are you in it? And Cillian Murphy said, I can't say anything. And Simon said, why not? And Cillian said, because I've signed a contract.
There you go. So,
oh god.
Well, maybe. I mean, who knows when Marvel and the big films will get released? But that's something to look forward to. Do you know anything about that? Do you know what they're saying about that?
I mean, they pushed the release date to February 12th.
Okay.
Due to the coronavirus. So I'm excited. I'm really, really excited to see. I do know it's going to be brilliant. Again, I can't emphasize how good Chloe is, and all the cast and crew, and just an amazing project.
Okay, well, listen, guys, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you, Cosmo Jarvis. Thank you, Barry Keoghan. We appreciate your time. Thank you. We look forward to seeing Come With Horses again and seeing Eternals and all the other stuff. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me and saying nice stuff as well. Thank you.